So sometimes you'll have big long expressions that you want to make simpler or make look nicer so they're easier to work with in problems. Before we get to how to actually simplify, which will involve combining like terms, which I'm sure you've done before at some points, I want to get a little bit of vocab in right here. So in red, you have an example of an expression. We learned what an expression was in our last video. Our first vocab word here is called a term. And a term, again, this is not the sort of definition you would see in a math book, but it really helps, I think, in terms of picturing what's going on. I think about a term as a piece of an expression, or equation, I suppose, separated by a plus or a minus. So in my expression up here, I have three terms. This guy right here is a term, this guy right here is a term, and this one over here. Each piece separated by the plus or minus sign. Multiplication is okay in a term, but each one of those pieces is called a term. A coefficient is going to be a number being multiplied against your variable. So a number being multiplied in front of your term. Or in front of your variable. So on this guy right here, -4 would be my coefficient for the x to the third, 5 would be my coefficient on my x, and 8, I suppose you could argue, like, I don't want to get into, like, there is technically a variable there, but won't worry about that now. You can think about it as a coefficient if you like, or you can just treat it like a number right there. Like terms are terms that have the same variable. So they have the exact same variable. The coefficients can be different though. So same variable, coefficients though possibly can be different. So, with that vocab out of the way, we're going to practice a few problems. When you see the instructions simplify, I like to think of it as cleaning up your problem. Or, as you probably learned it before, you might combine like terms. So when you see a big long string like this, the variables have to match exactly, and if they do, you can combine the terms. Really all you're going to do is add or subtract the coefficients. You may have learned how to do this a different way, I'm not sure, but I really like having kids draw shapes around like terms. You can do that. I do want you to do it on these problems to practice. If you decide, you know what, I know how to do this another way, that's fine, but hear me out and try it my way for now, please. So I look at my first piece right here. My first term, the variable is an x squared. So I'm going to draw a circle around that. I have an x squared right here. This guy doesn't match. He doesn't get a circle. This guy is also an x squared for my variable. I'm going to put a circle around that, and I'm going to include the plus or minus in my circle. It's important that you put the sign with the term. There's nothing else here with an x squared in it. So I'm going to combine my blue circles now. 2x squared minus 4x squared is -2x squared. The variable does not change. You just subtract or add your coefficients. I'll switch colors now. Next up, I have my next piece right here available is a +7. I'm going to put a box around that, purple box. So I have +7 here. This doesn't match, and I have a +40 as well. So +7 and +40 are going to make a +47. And that leaves me with my +x, put a triangle around this guy. There's no other triangles to go with the x right here, so that just stays +x, or +1x if you want to have a coefficient right there. Remember, there's a 1 in front if you don't see anything. Oftentimes, you'll see this written, so the variables kind of go with the exponents in descending order. So you can also write this as -2x squared plus x plus 47, and that is the same thing. That's totally fine as well. So that is a simplified or a cleaner version of your original. I have 2 more problems I want to cover in this video. So my next problem looks really complicated. There's a lot of pieces to it, and there's a lot going on. I really do encourage you, and I want you, like I said, for this video you have to, I want you to draw shapes around like terms, and let's see how much simpler it'll make it. So if I look at this one right here, I'm just going to draw a circle around my first term. My variable on this one was x, y. It has to match exactly, or otherwise it's not a like term. This one right here only has an x, not a like term. Not going to get a circle. This one is an x squared y. The exponent has to match as well. Those aren't like terms either. This one xy squared, not a match, not a match, not a match. Nothing matched my first guy right here, so I'm just going to carry him down. He couldn't combine with anything. Just going to sit like that. Next up, my term is a plus. Again, you need to make sure, kids forget this all the time, the plus or minus goes along with the term. Doesn't match, doesn't match. Plus 6x matches. Positive 4x plus 6x is a plus 10x. Add the coefficients, the variables do not change. Next up, my term is a negative 3x squared y. This guy right here is very close. They're trying to trip you up here, but this is xy squared. The y is the squared. Those aren't like terms. But I do have another x squared y over here. I'm going to combine those. So when I combine negative 3x squared y plus 3x squared y, I get 0x squared y. And you can write that if you want on here. I'm going to write it for right now anyway. But 0 times anything just goes away. If you have a 0 in front, it canceled. It's gone. I'm not even going to bother putting it here. Because if there's a 0 in front, it goes away. And that leaves me with one more term there. I have my, I guess I'll do a cloud on this one. Got my plus 12xy squared. There's no other green clouds to go with it, so I'm just going to copy it down as is. And this would be a simplified version of my answer, as far as I can go with the problem. One more problem here, and if you remember back from geometry with your perimeter, you can try this one out for yourself and pause the video, see how it goes, but I'm going to go ahead and work it out right now. So first of all, on a rectangle, the opposite sides are congruent, so those are both 2x plus 1s. This is 4x squared minus 6. Perimeter means you add all of your sides up. So I'm going to add all 4 of those sides together. So I'll write them out just to be able to see what's going on there. It'll make it a little clearer. I will end up with, starting with the top, 4x squared minus 6 plus 2x plus 1 plus 4x squared minus 6 plus 2x plus 1. All 4 of those pieces there. Now I just start combining like terms. I have a 4x squared plus 4x squared. That is going to give me an 8x squared. I have a plus 2x and a plus 2x. Those will give me a plus 4x. And I have a bunch of numbers on this one. Plus 6 minus 1. Sorry, minus 6 plus 1. Minus 6 plus 1. And if I actually combine those there, I'll end up with a negative 10. So I'll put minus 10 here.